How are you? How are you? How are you getting on? Is minding yourselves, the old pondering community. I hope you are well. In this old pod, I've been really looking forward to doing this, actually dying to do it. I've named it Tuesdays with Memento Mori. Now, I'm not going to pat myself too hard on the back. I might knock myself off the chair. But I think that's a pretty creative name for the very reason I'm about to explain. One of my favourite books of all time, probably my favourite book, is with Morrie. Very short book, very small book. Massive impact. And one of my favourite philosophies, phraseologies, one of my ethoses for life is Memento Mori. It just so happens that when you put the two together, they come up with a deadly name. I'm happy with that. It'll get a little bit deep and get a little bit soppy. Very happy though. This is going to be a really, really positive one. So, that being said, if you're walking, gymming, driving, cleaning, sitting down, dark room with a candle, whatever you're doing, stall it for a little while and let me put a little happy spirit boogie in your ear. Mom, we go pondering. Now, Tuesdays with Morrie. I think I'll start there. Give you the synopsis of the book. I would say read it, honestly. And even if you're not going to read it, it's on YouTube as a free film. Your man Hank Azaria, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He plays, for me, one of the funniest roles I've ever seen in my life. If you've ever seen The Birdcage with Robin Williams in it, he plays the butler in it. Man, bleeding hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But he also does loads of the voices on The Simpsons. Loads of them. You'd know him if you saw him. So, it's a free film on YouTube too. However, I recommend it. Either way. The basic gist is, this social studies professor gets diagnosed with ALS. And do you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge that was going around a while ago? Actually, it was ages ago. But it still went around. That was all part of that rage. So he gets diagnosed with it. And instead of wilting away, he leans into it. And he uses it as a source of teaching. Now, I remember when I was handed this book by my friend Berko. He said, "Oh man, you've not read that book, man, you have to read that book." And he gave it to me. And I wasn't, Jesus, I never really read much at all. Maybe, I think I read like maybe the Dalai Lama stuff or something like that, or one or two things kind of up and down, but Jesus Christ, no. But I took it and I couldn't put it down. I was, Leanne was only into. Actually, she was in the NICU up in the Coombe. That's how far back I go. So I was looking for any sort of inspiration, and that was it. And it's been with me since she's been born. And the gas thing is life imitating art, art imitating life. It rings home. Just a shocking amount. Now, the one thing it brings about is perspective. Again, something I've been saying for many a year. Particularly with the pondering community that's starting to grow. And look, there's people that dip in and dip out. They might listen to an episode here and an episode there, and there's people, in other countries or different parts of the country looking for something that pops up into their fly-by-nights kind of listeners. But the pondering community, the ones who usually kind of drop me messages or get on to me or share the old pod, you'll know what I mean when I say it's about perspective, because this podcast is for a certain type, I suppose. I'm not aiming for a demographic, but a certain kind of type. There's people that are looking for hope, people that are looking for insight, people that are looking for honesty, people that are looking for a bit of entertainment along the way as well with the stories that I tell, but also from a reliable source. And love and kindness, and I hope that comes across more than anything else. The love and the kindness and the sincerity in which I speak, even when I'm admitting how much of an arsehole I can be, but also how much I'm trying to be a good dude. But that all comes from perspective. And a lot of the listeners, you guys are the same. We're a community. There's a lot of carers that listen to the podcast, a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers, a lot of people that work in the care industry or nurses or all that stuff. And there's one thing we all have in common, and that's perspective, because we've seen some stuff. But only can you see some stuff, can you recognise it? Recognise the perspective. Now, having said that, I was living with a girlfriend only last year, as you know. We were having a conversation, just roughly, about stuff. And it was put to me, would I want people to have seen what I've seen and go through what I've gone through? Because I would always say openly, God, there's just not enough perspective in the world. If people only knew. And I never thought of that. Would you give it to someone? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't want anybody to suffer. I wouldn't want anybody to worry the way I do, or the way we do. I'm going to say, if that's okay with you guys, or to go through what we've been through. Anybody who's relating to everything I've said up until this point in any way, shape or form. Even if you're out the other side of it, I still wouldn't want anybody to feel pain. However, I would still want them to have perspective. And here's the thing. Sooner or later, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the day after, everybody goes through it. It's unavoidable. Absolutely unavoidable. You will become part of a community. No man is an island. No woman is an island. No one is an island. Yeah, we might operate fantastically well independently, but ultimately, you need a community. You need to be part of a community. That's part of being human. It's part of the experience. It's part of the journey. It's part of the shy. You recognise other people are going through it. Now, back to Tuesdays with Morrie. some famous quotes I have here that come from the book. Maybe I won't do them all. I do have notes. I did print these off. I can tell you now, without even looking at them, the one that sticks out for me the most is, when you learn about dying, you learn about living. That sticks out with me. When you're faced with a diagnosis for you or your family member or someone you love, or someone you're close to, and you realise in an instant how finite time is, and how short time is, and how fleeting it is. Because you look at your kids and you go, oh God, they were only 12 yesterday, and now look at them, they're 13, and now look at them, they're 21. Cliche. I get it. It's true. It's real. It makes sense. But that jolt up your arse when someone's sick, it can deflate you and debilitate you, or it can kick you into action. That's, depending on the person. Also, as well as doing the sessions that I've done over the years, I took massive inspiration from people that I've met that have lost people. And it always gave me perspective. And it always gave me a reality check of what I was doing was something to learn from. That was a conscientious effort I made. Especially when you've seen so much sadness and then so much joy and then so much sadness and then so much joy, and it was a cycle. And then somewhere in between you had to find purpose, because I was burnt out doing it, the emotional roller coaster. That's why I took massive breaks from it. Yeah, I won't go down that path, that self-sympathy path. I'm just saying I did. I get empathy fatigue and energy fatigue and psychological fatigue. It leads to a thing called nihilism. It's like, what's the fucking point in life? Because it's all gonna fucking end anyway, isn't it? And that will bring me into Memento Mori later on. But nihilism is the thing, is where like, what's the point? You don't give a shit about anything. And that's a horrible place to be. But this book, absolutely, on more than one occasion, I used to flick open the book and I'd land on pages and I go, Jesus, Morrie, thanks, bud. But when you learn about dying, you learn about living. That's a constant for me. For reasons that I don't explain certain things on the line, on the pod, and put it out there, because it's not my place to say it. But even though I am affected by it, and profoundly affected by it, and it affects my life, on my perspective and my view of the world profoundly. Oh, I don't want to. It's family business, private business. So, accept the past as past without denying it or discarding it. Can't change what happened, lads. You can't get rid of it. Accept it. Don't assume that it's too late to get involved. No matter how shit you think it is, lads, you can always do something. Honestly. The most important thing in life is to learn and how to give out love. Sorry, I'm going to say it again. The most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and let it come in. I was a fucker for that. Closed off for years I was. Love is the only rational act. Love always wins. It always wins. Death ends a life, not a relationship. That's where that comes from. Accept who you are and revel in that. Here's one now from me that absolutely, I was only thinking about this driving home, about being on a journey and how many people are asleep. This one absolutely smashes it for me. So many people walk around with a meaningless life. They seem half asleep, even when they're busy doing things that they think are important. This is because they're chasing the wrong things. The way you get the meaning into your life is to devote yourself to loving others. Devote yourself to your community around you, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you a purpose and meaning. This is the bleeding community I'm talking about. The pondering community. There might only be about realistically, there's about 50 of us. I can tell you now, there's 50 solid ponderers, even though there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listens. But the actual community who are there with me and going through it and relating, for me, this is it. Oh God, that just makes me dizzy. It hits home. Do the kind things that come from the heart. When you do, you won't be dissatisfied. You won't be envious. You won't be longing for somebody else's things. On the contrary, you'll be overwhelmed with what comes back. That's the feedback I get from doing this. And it's all for nothing. Makes me... God. Especially when people say to me, I related to that one. The rest of them were a great listen, but there was one that hit me. And I'm like, I'm with you, sister. That's to a specific person. If you hold back on the emotions, if you don't allow yourself to go all the way through them, you can never get to being detached. You're too busy being afraid. You're afraid of the pain. You're afraid of the grief. You're afraid of the vulnerability that loving entails. That's why I started therapy. I said I'm going to lean into this motherfucker like a motherfucker. And I thought I was going to die. But did you die? Hangover reference. No, I didn't. Still here, kicking ass. If you want the experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. That's all I ever wanted to be, was that. And I have two amazing children. Honestly. Well, these people were so hungry for love that they were accepting substitutes. They were embracing material things and expecting a sort of hug back, but it never works.
This audio was created with async.com.
And expecting a sort of hug back, but it never works. You can't substitute material things for love, or for gentleness, or for tenderness, or for a sense of camaraderie, I would have said. Okay. Now here's the phrase. The truth is, and this is an unbelievable truth, there are some truisms in life. There are some truths that are omnipresent and universal, no matter what country, what colour, what sex you are. The truth is, once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. I heard this thing when I was doing suicide intervention training. It blew my mind away. It blew my mind away as well. And the guy came out and he had said, when there are people that are contemplating taking their own life. I think I said this in the Choose Life podcast. I'm going to say it again for anybody who didn't hear it. Is that it's not that they wanted to die. So they didn't know how to live with the pain. And I remember speaking about it in a way and saying that it's not that I wanted to die. I didn't know how to live. But then when I was faced with mortality and death and having to choose life, it taught me that I do want to live. And then the how to live came after that. Mental. Yeah, look, I could go on. Is there anything else? I'll give you this last one, because of so many. If you found meaning in your life, you don't want to go back. It's the absolute truth. And if you don't have the support and the love and caring and concern that you get from a family, you don't have much at all. Family isn't only blood. Family isn't only blood. So that's the Tuesdays with Morrie buzz, right? Get on it. Go do it. YouTube, read it. It'll absolutely change it. Now, go and find me notes for Memento Mori. Have 'em. Jesus, I have 'em. So, Memento Mori. Now, I have this tattooed. This is how much I believe in it. I have this tattooed across my ever-growing belly. I know when people see me, they say, "You're only bleeding skinny, you are. Oh, me on a butcher's table." Yeah, but I'm like skinny fat. So, but it's on my ever-growing belly. And I'm going through me hippie years, so I don't give a shit. I'm gonna fucking embrace turning 40. What age am I again? Whatever. 40 odd. Memento Mori. It's a Latin phrase meaning remember that you will die. Well, the concept is this. It's going to remind you of your inevitable death, or the inevitability of death. It's a reminder of the brevity of life, and you need to make the most of it. It comes from kind of, it is a Christianity kind of thing, but like dark shit, like the Latin Christianity kind of stuff. You'll see it signified in excuse me, paintings, statues, skulls. Really, it's really dark, but it's on the out, like the meaning of it is actually like pretty deep. If you talk about, it's a reflective tool. When you're reflecting on your own life and what you've done, I reflect every day, several times a day. How did I do? How did I deal? Could I have done it better? Forgive myself. Oh, look, you had a bit of a moment there, Matty, didn't you? Matty didn't have a good minute there, did he, little Matty? No, Matty had a little cry, a little bit of a tantrum. And I say to myself, get up, you baby. Or then there's times when I kind of go, yeah, man. Yeah, clear conscience. Golden. Absolutely golden. Apparently, it roots back to some dude called Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, and they emphasise the consideration of death and to live a more meaningful life as well. And it comes back to that meaning. It's about intention and purpose. And your life is finite. And that dash in between the day you were born and the day you die. Of course, your intention is entirely down to you. Whatever your intention is if you want to, if your cycle in this life is to go around and wreck the gaff and have a great time and ride it till the wheels fall off, sound. That's an individual thing. It's where you find meaning. It's not, they don't have to be a carer or a nurse or be doing like all like fundraising or all that sort of stuff to have meaning in life. Some people are, the world needs ditch diggers too. They say that in Caddyshack. But some of the best people I know are the most simple people, and their intention or their purpose is to be themselves. I do have a whole pod on Dharma and soul purposes and all that sort of stuff, so stay tuned. The appreciation for life. The experience of it. Being aware of the human experience. How many times have I said that here? It's knowing you're a spirit, knowing that your life will end, knowing that it will come to an end, And it's always about reconciling the two. Reconciling the spirit world and this world, and your spirit and your body. And the awareness of death. Not just for you, but for people around you. Like, that gives importance to your values and your goals. What are you attached to? Who are you attached to? And I mean the good attachments, not the bad attachment styles. I think that's what Morrie was putting across as well. Just absolutely stuns me. I live by it. Everybody will recognise that, maybe not for it being called Memento Mori, but at some point you'll come across it. People on their deathbed, the regrets. If I was to tell you the amount of times throughout the communication, I'm gonna go off script. I don't have a script, but I'm gonna go in a different direction in a second. Tell you the best reading I ever done. The amount of reconciliation that happens in readings. People that didn't get to say goodbye, or were at odds and ends, or checker pasts and checkered relationships. I can tell you, shit is real. I've seen people's lives crumble and be put back together through a communication, and the healing that has happened. Powerful, beautiful stuff. Honestly, I was up my fingers one time. Drove all the way up from Leash, and I got there and I walked in. I still remember it. This girl was sitting at the counter, absolutely distraught. I just walked in straight away and I looked at her and I pointed at her and I said, "Josephine." And she fucking collapsed onto the kitchen table. She was sitting on the chair, just collapsed onto it. She sobbed and she fucking sobbed and she sobbed and she sobbed and she sobbed and she sobbed. She didn't get a chance to say what she wanted to say. Before she passed away, before Josephine passed away, Josephine came back. The reading lasted about 60 seconds. Exactly what needed to be said was said. And life changing. She just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. It was amazing. What equals that? What rivals that? I remember being in Kildare one particular time, and this woman who, throughout the communication, it was her mum that came through. I sat there, brought her mum through, didn't say anything, and I just hugged her from the other side. Hugged her from heaven. Because of the same thing, not being able to have closure. And that's extreme, I know. But still, you're not going to be here forever. Tell your kids. And don't waste your time, I would always say, on the shite bags of your life. If they're drains and not radiators, family isn't always blood. Yeah, and focus on your community. Or yourself, or your purpose. So, do you even know you're born? That's what I'd say. Pardon-moi. Well, I was going to move on, but then I read this. As long as we can love each other and remember the feeling of love we had, we can die without ever really going away. All the love you created is still there. All the memories are still there. You live on in the hearts of everyone you have touched and nurtured while you are here. Over the years, and even now, I will theorize this residual energy. The impact, I use that word impact, that you have on someone else or someone else has had on you, it lives on as a vibration. It resonates, it echoes. The power of the memory is unbelievable. Again, not just another plug, but another podcast I'm working on as well is the power of memory and memories and making memories. Everything that you pour into a person, the good, the bad, the indifferent, like a lot of that stuff is objective. From the outside looking in, you think, oh, that's good or that's bad. You know, life is objective at times as well. It's like what we all think from the outside looking in is good or bad. But speaking internally from the inside of it, and this is what I've experienced, that's what leads me to theorize and ponder it. A lot of this shite fades away. It fades away. And that's what makes a communication, is that the love is the connection. The impact. What really mattered. That's the magic of what opens a portal to the other side. It's when you open the channel, that's the magic ingredient. You open the channel with love, and I go, well, what's still there? And the connection, again, I go back to it, it's between yous. I don't give a shite about what any other psychic medium, communicator, whatever they say about them. It's not them. Some people that have an ability can still be shitheads and abuse it and use their ego and what have you and make it all about them, and they're the seventh son of a seventh son and wear fancy suits and all that shit. The connection has nothing got to do with them. If it's not them, it'd be somebody else. I've said it before, there are plenty of people who are way more tuned in than me. I know how tuned in I am. I know how dialed in I am. Mediumship for me was one aspect of energy. I'm into a different phase of my life now. I still connect for people here and there, and it's beautiful. But I'm on a different part of my journey now. But I can tell you now, in hindsight, if the connection is there between the two of you, my job is easier. If the love is there. Wow. All the memories are still there. You live on in the hearts of everyone you've touched and nurtured while you are here. And that word nurtured, if I can help people in life, help them become something. Getting on my high horse now. How hard is it to build somebody up? It's really hard. Really hard to help build people up. To nurture somebody. How easy is it to tear someone down? Yeah, takes 2 seconds to be a shite bag. 2 seconds. Anyway. Now we'll move on. So, can I tell you some stories? about perspective.
This audio was created with async.com.
Can I tell you some stories about perspective with people that I've met? So I've given you my perspective. And there are people that you meet, right, that have like this sunny disposition. I've got two sides. I've got this rock and roll anarchist which will literally burn your house down and fucking piss on it if I'm in a bad humour, or if I deem you to be a horrible person, I'll push back. Well, usually that's not just for anybody. That's usually with, like, you know, people who try to control me, or authority figures, or scumbags. And a scumbag to me is people who try to control others, coerce others, all that sort of stuff. I'll fight tooth and nail with them for freedom of speech and freedom of feelings and freedom of the human expression and experience and what have you. There's that side of me who gets me into so much trouble, and he takes over. I swear to God, he takes over. What is it? Me, myself and Irene. He goes, advanced delusionary schizophrenia with involuntary narcissistic rage. Man, my rage is like flames. But you need him. I need him to survive. He protects me. That dude protects me. As I said, he gets me into some shit, but more often than not, he protects me. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you this story. How he got me into trouble one time. I was going out with a girl over in a part of Kildare a couple of years ago. After the kids were gone off to their moms early, and I was after doing a real intense workout and shadow boxing and kettlebells, and I was after been sparring the night before in kickboxing, and I had the shit kicked down me, but still sparring. But the adrenaline and the dopamine and everything was high, and I was roiled up. I was driving over, and I was taking the back roads from Port Arlington over to north of Kildare. I don't want to say too much. And all the way over there was this Peugeot. Rank Peugeot, falling apart. Like a light sky blue with loads of rust on it, what have you. And this guy was up my arse. Up my arse. All the way. Like I mentioned before, I'm not a fast driver. I arrive alive, not dead on time. I take my time. But I was actually doing a decent speed because he was up my arse. I was trying to get away from not being up my arse. And the roads are bumping and swerving, and you're hitting them and fucking coming around bends and bog roads, and Jesus Christ. So I'm putting the hazards on and throwing my hand out the window going, fucking go away, will you? Goes on for about 20 minutes, and he's like right up the whole time up my arse. We get to this little garage where there's a T-junction. So I jump out. Now, remember, I'm roiled up. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But this guy, one thing is, this isn't even road rage that I have. This is the case of, like, he's nearly running me off the road. I'm not messing with you. And I'm like, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go out and cause riots. Anyway, I get out. I leave the car running. Bearing in mind, I was driving a Hyundai iX35, my favourite car I've ever had at the time. If he hadn't hit me, he would have fucked his own car up. So, more fools me. I get out of the car, I start walking back. I'm in great shape now, I have to say. At this point, I'm fit. And I'm overly confident. And I walked up to a man and I'm like, what are you fucking doing? Up my fucking hole the whole fucking time. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. I'm fucking telling you, get out of the car. And the more and more I'm talking, the more and more I'm getting roiled up. But this is as I'm walking to the car. Because when I broke at the T-junction, he was actually a good 10-second walk behind me. For whatever reason, he didn't follow me straight up. And I'm walking over and I'm ready to have an absolute barn burner. I'm ready to have a physical fight. And Oh God, how much of an absolute dope. But it happened. I'm going to tell you the story in its absolute entirety. He rolls down the window, and there's this like Russian vibe off him, and he has a Russian or Polish accent, right? He's got grey hair, stubble, really chiseled jaw, hair's brushed just across with like that blacky grey salt and pepper kind of hair. His right eye has a gash from the top of the eye socket down to the bottom, and you can see clearly it's been damaged or stabbed in a fight. And his left eye is working, and that's the one that's staring at me. And he has other scars all over his face. He's missing one of his teeth, and I'm there screaming, "Ah!" No, I'm committed. I'm committed to the argument. I'm committed to the fist fight. He rolls down the window and he waves his hand at me and he goes, "Get back in your car." And I took one look at him, and the size of his hands were the size of my bleeding face. And I went, "Yeah, not a bother. Not a bother. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get back in my car. You drive whatever way you want to drive. Memento Mori. My life will end. It's not going to end today." Not over me being an absolute moron anyway. But do me a favour. Have a nice day. I'll see you later. I got back into my car and I drove away. I immediately calmed down. And started breaking me bollocks laughing. All I could think about was, "Matty, you nearly got smashed to bits." I know in my heart of hearts for a fact this dude was a bad dude, and my temper made me believe, my rage made me believe that I was a bad dude, and I'm not a bad dude. He would have murdered me. So jeez, I'm after going, where am I in this? Where am I in the podcast? I'm pondering. That's where I am. Stick with me. So I'm back in the car and I go off and I meet the girlfriend at the time. So I've got that side of me, and then I've got the absolute hippie side of me. And as I said, I'm living in my hippie days now. This is very relevant, the Momento Mori stuff, the perspective. That's what I was talking about. I was going to tell you other stories, the theory that I've learned, and learning from other people. That's the thing. It's my learnings are reinforced by the other people that I've met. Now I'm going to tell you the two sides of the experience of having perspective and not having perspective. And they were both individuals that I cared for professionally. I'll start with the Badger. Haven't seen him in years, but I'm going to start here. We actually ended up becoming really good friends for a couple of years. And it's not that we fell out or anything, but work got in the way and life got in the way and so on, so we stopped hanging out as much. This guy I met blew me away with how young he looked. That was the first thing that would strike you. Now he was, Jesus, when I met him, I think he was saying he was 47. Didn't look a day over 24. I would always joke with him saying, "That's because you've been waited on hand and foot all your life, you little fecker." But also he had the art of not giving a shit down to a T. After being born with cerebral palsy, he was born into it. He knew nothing different. A great sense of humour. Genuinely. An absolute great sense of humour. You bollocks is all you'd hear of him when you took the piss out of him. And he was a Liverpool fan, me being a United fan. The slaggings going back and forward was class. In fact, one of my favourite gigs ever as I went to see Kings of Leon in the Tree Arena, and I brought himself along. He'd never been to a gig. I said, get your arse in gear, we're going. I got a carer's ticket, he got his ticket. I did the driving, he did the drinking. Absolute match made in heaven. Two lads staring at each other singing Your Sex Is On Fire. Jesus Christ. Oh, so funny. A great time. But yeah, our friendship developed. We had this little buddy system too, where, for example, if we were going to the cinema, he'd never get out. I say, is you want to go see the Batman film? Yeah, get in the car, you. What are you up to? Nothing. I'm not teasing him, by the way. I'm doing a great impression of him, and he loves it. I have his blessing. Well, I did when we were talking anyway. Contradict myself saying we haven't spoken in years, but he used to let me tell stories about him, and he'd laugh along. Didn't take himself too, honestly, didn't take himself too serious. And if you're afraid of looking like a fool, or you take yourself too serious, you'll never have any bleeding fun. That's what we used to say to each other. So, yeah, we what, man? Oh, Eddie Rockets. Get in the car. Down. Baiting bacon cheese chips into us. Great crack. Shite we used to talk, honestly. So, Fergal, we're an inspiration. You are, my friend. What an inspiration you are. I'm actually going to contact him after this. I'm absolutely inspired to... Yeah, absolutely. So, always laughing, always giggling. Could take a slagging, could give a slagging. Was always up for the banter. Always around the pub drinking as well. In his wheelchair. But loved the wind up. He loved the wind up. And I was always trying to wind him up. In fact, best wind up ever. For me, I'll come back to his age thing. And I said, you can ask me, bollocks. You're not 47. I am. Prove it. I'll bring in me passport. I said, grand, fine. No. I knew, and you could probably already assume fairly safely as well, that he was 47. And he was going to bring in his passport, and I was going to end up with an egg on my face. But I still wanted to get in on the banter and get the banter going. And I said, I bet you 50 quid you're not. I bet you 50 quid. And his eyes lit up. They went wide like a cartoon. The eyebrows came off his fucking face, suspended in animation in mid-air. I said, I bet you 50 quid. Okay. Shook his hand. Bets on. Oh, I'm not earning good money at the time. And I'm laughing to myself. I'm like, what am I after and doing? As I firmly believe, if you shake on something, you put a bet down, pay your end. That's next week's problem, I said. I'm not going to see him till next week. That's next week's problem. I'll deal with it then. So, we're in the resource centre where I'm working. He gets off the bus and he tears in. I mean, tears in this big clunky wheelchair, coming around the corner and down the corridor on two wheels sideways, screeching. Like, I'm not even messing. You know the noises you hear in your tyres in the underground car parks, or your runners make when you're on a basketball court? That's the noise it was making. And I saw him coming, and I was like, Jesus. Oh, he's on a mission. He comes hurrying into the main kitchen, pulls a handbraker that the lads in Cherry Orchard would have been proud of, did a donut in the centre of it, leaving skid marks. He was like, oh, now calm down, you, it's mopped that. And he stutters the way he goes, pay me. Went, here we go. What am I going to deal with this one? What am I going to do? I said, show me the passport first. So I'm like pig ignorant. I'm not having it. I'm not submitting. I'm not tapping out. I'm doubling down on this. He wears this little fanny pack on the front of his person, carries his wallet and so on, and he whips it out and just starts waving it. And I say, wait, that's not even a real passport. I'm doing everything I can to delay it. And he goes, it is. Oh my God, in my head I was like, I know it is. He's not backing down. There's only going to be one winner here. I went, right, show me. And I flipped it open. I went, that's not you. That's not you in the past, but that's not you. He goes, it is. Oh, I was like, right, it is you. I'll give you the 50 quid when I get paid the next day you're in. Shook his hand again. I said, fair play, you outsmarted me, you bollocks. So he's going around the whole day going, I won, he owes me 50 quid, Everybody's walking around, juba him. The boss walks over. Did you pay him 50 quid? I went, oh. Yeah, look, I know gambling's not allowed, blah, blah. I says, it was a bit of crack. And then she goes, oh, I don't care. She says, but you better pay him. Oh my God. We weren't even allowed to play cards in there for money, like, seriously. I was like, oh, Jesus, he has the boss on his side now. Oh, what am I going to do? What is Matty going to do? Matty's in trouble. So, that dies down a little bit. Still a little bit of crack, back and forward. The next day arrives. He comes in a lot calmer this time, but still with that air of confidence and arrogance that I owe him the money, and he earns it, by the way. So he goes, have you got me money? I goes, I do. I get it in a minute. I go, oh, okay, right. Okay, alright, I have a plan. Anyway. I walks over to him about an hour later, and I handed him what he believed was a €50 note. And
This audio was created with async.com.
believed was a €50 note. And it screams out of him, yeah. Now I handed the money off. The so-called money. And I said to him, shake me hand, we're quits, debt paid, we're done. Yeah. I walk away. 10 minutes later, all I hear from the other room is, you bollocks! Of course, I start rattling with laughter. Rattling. You know where there's no noise, there's a wheeze, your shoulders go, you go blind, because the tears, your stomach is cramping, you're leaning over, and you're just trying to draw breath back in. He baits out through the doors like a madman, and he goes, you bollocks, and he came at me, almost running me over in this big contraption of a wheelchair. Pulls a handbrake right up beside me, but he has like a pure serious and angry look on his face that I don't recognise. But what was after happening is that he went in and he said it to one of the women working there, I have €50. And she went, yeah, they were all celebrating until he showed her the €50. And the girl goes, Fergal, that's not real. She pulled it apart. What I had done was, I had googled a €50 note, front and back, and I cut it with absolute scientific precision around the edges, and I got Pritt stick, and I glued the two sides together, and I left it to dry, and then I kind of folded it and creased it and crumpled it and made it a bit dirty to make it look like a real thing. But he didn't bother checking, as was his trust in me, as was his fucking stupidity and naivety. I should have known I wasn't going to hand over €50 with a bet over a passport. Not a CE scheme. He bought a hook, line and sinker, and he came in and he was raging, "You're a bollocks, you're a bollocks, you're a bollocks." And of course the only words I could get out was, "Yeah, but I got you, buddy." And then he stopped looking so serious, and then he just started pissing himself laughing, and he was like, you did. I said, "But don't worry, son, don't worry. Matty's going to look after you. I look after you." That's where the Kings of Leon gig came in. That was my reprieve. I pulled a few extra hours in the home care I was doing at the same time, and it was great. And that story still lives largely in my heart and my soul, rent free. And every time I see him now, I bring it up. Well, sorry, every time I saw him then, I would bring it up. It was always like, "You still owe me 50 quid, you still owe me 50 quid. No, we're even off the Kings of Leon. Who bought you your 2 Heineken? Who did the drive and pay for the parking? Come on. I go back and forward, and it was absolutely just legendary. And I to be honest with you, that really kind of cemented the friendship. And time would go on, and we just do like so much more together. And every time we walked anywhere, it was like, "Oh, here's the two bowsies. He made two bollockses." And I was like, "Yeah, buddy." Everybody has the right to raise a bit of hell. Everybody does. And this guy was an absolute trailblazing hellraiser. Loved it. Always out having points. In fact, you'll enjoy this. He got his revenge. This might be contravening privacy and dignity, but we've actually told the story 100 times together. So, but maybe on a public forum. I'll tell it anyway. I'll apologise later. When I contact him tomorrow, I will offer him an Eddie Rockets. By his silence. But yeah, he was out on the beer one night and got a big massive chipper. And the next day we were due to hang out. And I call over. I said, "You ready to go?" He goes, "I will be in 5 minutes. Of course, 5 minutes later, he was like, "Oh, by the way, I need to get sorted." I went, "What do you mean?" And he went, "You know what I mean." And I went, "Oh, you little bollocks." It was personal care that had to be performed. And when I tell you he was saving her up for me, he fucking laughed his whole bleeding arse off. The whole time. It was brilliant. And he ended up getting the last laugh, and I think that was a better prank. Anyway, Flower never gave out about anything. If we had to park miles away from other places and walk down, he didn't mind. Probably because sometimes we had the manual chair and I was doing the pushing. If we had to wait for stuff, he never tried to play up on his condition. Never gave out, never felt sorry for himself, never was giving out about other people. In fact, if he saw me giving out about other people, he would say, "Leave them alone." Or he'd say, "Give over." Like, "You're right, Fergal." And if someone like that tells you to give over, you give the fuck over. I was blessed, still am, to have met him and to call him a friend, but also to learn from him. Yeah. And then being in his presence as well, he had a pure soul. He was a genuine personality, genuine character, genuine kindness, and the kindest eyes ever, honestly, and the most authentic laugh. Yeah. Remember, we were in the cinema one time. We ended up going to see a film that he was dying to see. I was like, "I'll bring you." He'd have this kind of cough thing. You do. And fucker down the front kept on turning back saying, "Shh, shut up. Oh, Jesus." Anyway. Your man comes over halfway through the film and I stood up to puck the head off him, being overly defensive and overly aggressive. So he stands up. "What? These are condition. You can't help it." Your man goes, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I'm so sorry. I enjoyed the film." And he sat back down. Not because I was being an aggressive dickhead or anything like that. It was because he was genuinely apologetic towards me, old flower. There was no need if I could have said it in a kind of way. And then I had says, after calming down, I went, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "But just be a little bit more mindful, will you?" I said, it's pretty hurtful." He said, yeah, I'm so sorry. I sits back down and my old flower goes, "Don't worry about it. It's fine." Went back to watching the film. Everybody in the cinema had a great time. So I had one of those moments where I was like, I don't need to be fighting other people's battles if they don't want to fight them. It's a great lesson, and that stuck with me. So, on to the next lad. Very different situation. I identified with him to a certain degree. There's a film called The Angriest Man in Brooklyn with Robin Williams. I always say, is life imitating art or is art imitating life? Which way does it go? But there's a certain line in it. And again, this film is free on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. The complexity of it. But he's grieving in it. And there's this scene where he says, "Why am I so fucking angry? Why am I so fucking angry?" Because that's all I'm fucking left with. So, wow. Powerful piece. For anybody that's listening to this who has been through a phase of anger, whether it was through grief, or life, or hardships have been worn down, or just in general, things happen and sometimes that is what you're left with. That is all you're left with, is anger. And good people get screwed over. Because that happens in life. There's no two ways about it. But you can't let it rule you, and you can't let it control you. The next lad, whose name I won't mention unless I let it slip. Jesus, don't let it slip, mate. Developed his disease later on in life. It was multiple sclerosis. I would go and visit him. Didn't know what way to take him the first time. Sketchy. Just his personality. Didn't know what way to take him. Was he being genuine? Was he joking? Was he serious? And then sometimes his kind self would show up. He was very heavy on the drink and became even heavier on the drink as I cared for him. And that was a huge contributing factor, but doesn't excuse it, because certain moments which I'm going to discuss which are not acceptable. They say a drunk mind speaks a sober heart, or there's some saying like that. The truth comes out when you're drunk. Inhibitions go dying. He would have a habit of ambushing you in conversations. He'd open up a conversation or a dialogue, and you'd walk in. "Hey, getting on? How'd you sleep? You alright? How's the legs? Need a bit of physio? Have you eaten? You haven't? What do you mean haven't eaten? What have you been eating? Right, I'll get you something. No, I will. I'll get you something. You don't eat it, but I'm getting it for you." But that's fine. That kind of closed offness, that defensiveness. But it became after that, it would be political questions, or try to draw you in conversations and then flip it on you and take your words out of context and turn it into an argument, and I'm I try not to be political. I don't think I am political. I don't know enough about it, except for they're all gangsters. And I try to give a non-opinionated answer, because again, opinions are like arseholes, so I prefer input and perspectives and views and takes on things as opposed to opinions. It's just a way of dragging you in. And, oh, you should be a politician. You should be a politician. Because I'm giving answers where I'm like, well, I don't know what to say, but I'm not going to refuse the man a conversation. Probably the only person he's going to see throughout the day. You try to entertain the conversation. And this is you come in at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. This is how your day would start. You were like, oh, I got to a point where it's the dread going in. It's one call I don't miss. Because I tried everything, I genuinely did. But you'd be going after your call, and you'd be drained at the start of the day. I'm in this with a good heart. Like, I'm only getting paid. €10 an hour is what I started off on in home care. €10 an hour. And that's including the cost of me money to get to places. So I was after being spoiled by the Badger and his personality and his ways and all the other amazing folks I'd taken care of. When I met this guy who could say, oh, we'll take it as a challenge and learn from it, and I was like, there's something more to this guy, that it's not just because of his condition. And what I did play with in my own mind, but bearing in mind I'm reading his energy and I'm trying to vibe with him and tune into him and all that sort of stuff, and I think I gauged it right. But yes, the condition came on later on in life, and he had every right to be angry. Natural process. Every right to have a level of bitterness about him, absolutely. To be resentful and to mourn his old life and the life he's missing out on now, and to go through some sort of grieving process. All that stuff considered, lads. All that stuff considered. And all the other stuff that I don't have the skills or the knowledge to consider, but I was open to the fact that there's just more you don't know. Where it really pushed me over the edge was there was another carer that came in and they lost a very close relative. And I remember coming in the day after, because the person had to go home and I had to pick up a call, sorry. I looked at God, how you getting on? Yeah. Herself is, it's me today. Herself is off down the thing. And he was like, I know. I said, you heard about the person passing away? And he said, I did. And he goes, well, that's life. Shit happens. You know? What the fuck? And I mean, he meant that. Lashing out, all that sort of stuff, projecting his anger onto other people, all that stuff. I get it, fine. But that was genuine. I would go on to get him to know, I would go on to get to know him more. Used to troll people on the internet, on Facebook and all the other things, and just leave horrible remarks and horrible things. And I was like, okay, this is unraveling now. Again, his true self is shown. It's not me. I'm not being judgmental. I'm not really known in Port Arlington a hell of a lot. I think, well, to be honest with you, I think people know me more than I'm aware of them knowing me, but I don't engage much. I still don't know most of the people down here, but the couple of people I do know had come up about me doing the call, and they were like, him? He's always been a miserable bastard. Always. Even when he was well. Going into the pub, giving people shit, saying shit, was always an arsehole. I got great relief from it, because I was like, okay, right, it's definitely not me. I don't mind saying he's an arsehole now. He's a shite bag. It's not just me in my own head. And you know, some leopards don't change their spots, man. Some people are who they are. He was unapologetic who he was, so fair dues to him for being his authentic self and all that sort of stuff. And he wore his black heart on his sleeve. Alright. You know where you stand. Sound. But I compared the two. You know, again, I'm not massive into comparisons, but you do sometimes have to reflect on the differences between the two. And, you know, kinetic energy, you take something that's going against you and you use it for you. And that was the one thing that...
This audio was created with async.com.
Take something that's going against you and you use it for you. And that was the one thing that the Badger done. In any situation, you would take what wasn't working and turn it into a good thing. This other lad took the stuff that wasn't working for him and turned it into an even worse thing. And anything that was good, turned it into a shy thing. And that's what sickened me about him. I want to bring you to a conversation I had with Lillian last summer, the daughter, the psychologist of the family. Has a certificate from UCD and everything. I know DCU. So, we were talking about trauma and what have you, and growth last summer. I speak very openly in our family about therapy and counselling and mental health, mental wellness, all the other things that are associated with it, and kindness and love. She blew me away with something. And this is how I break this down. This is how I reconcile the two. When I say the two, I don't mean the two stories, but I reconcile the two between being bitter and angry and over something happening to you, and then people that are born into situations that had no control. I said, you know what my thing and all this stuff and the blah 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 blah, and she was like, yeah. I said, but I look at you and you amaze me. I said, you give out a little bit and like you'll say something shit or what's going on is shit. I said, but like, you just get on with things. If anybody listening to this has met my daughter, or if you haven't, and I tell you the legend of her, I am not exaggerating or bigging this up because she's my daughter. I only got told today from her SNAs and our bus driver about the way she was the last couple of days. Now she powers through and cry. Legendary status unlocked, and has an insight, and has a determination, and has a drive in her that would look at yourself and you pull yourself up by your bootstraps in life. And we were talking to the other day and they were paying all the things. We were like, he's great parenting, well done. And I was like, hold on a second, I'll take credit for a percentage of it, but that ain't me. That ain't her ma. That's her true and true. She is a champion. Absolute champion. And I only wish that I had what she had. But I absolutely will learn from her. But we're there, we're chatting away, and this is everything that happened to me and so on and so forth, and I feel like I'm crumbling and going through the phases and that and that. And I look at you and you're like, you're so strong. Like, you're resilient. The word resilient, like, was invented for people like her. I said, what is that? And she literally sat me down. I literally got dizzy. I'm not dramatising, exaggerating. My head started spinning because of what she had said. It was like everything she had said wiped out everything I had in my mind, and I got lightheaded because I was, everything I knew was changed, absolutely changed in an instant. So like the neuroplasty of my brain, I went through a physiological change in that moment. Swear to God. She said, yeah, but you didn't have control over this. This was other people doing it to you. It happened to you. And over time, he said, but this is all I know. I was born into it. So, to me, this is me. I went, are you telling me I spent a year in therapy and counselling and all I had to do was talk to you? And that's a crazy thing. That perspective, that acceptance. And then we have our moments. We have our moments in the family, all of us. And the extended family. But any time I get mad out of my head, angry or bitter, or think to myself, it's all I'm fucking left with is the fucking anger. I walk in, hey baby, how are you? Yep, all good. It falls out of me instantaneously. And I've also been spoiled with her as well, because I look at the rest of the world and going, why can't you be so strong? Yeah. So I always reconcile my stuff with that conversation about how people should deal, how people should be, why people are stronger, why people aren't, why people are bitter, why people are positive. But I do admire those people that take it and make it work for them. They don't take no for an answer. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Actually, you know what? I will say this. So Finn has mates, and their dad walked out. Oh, I love them. Best thing about moving back to Porterhouse was him being reunited with them, but also me being reunited with them, because I take them under my wing. It takes a village to raise a person, and I feel like I have an obligation to these guys. When we do have chats the whole time, I give them little kind of tidbits. They don't know, but I'm planting seeds in their head. And again, I go to war for them. I would go to war for them. Always having sleepovers. Finn's always up there. Chicken fillet rolls in the morning. Energy drinks for Xbox sessions up until bleeding 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes all-nighters. Bring it on, lads. Live it up. Wreck the gaff. Raise hell. Trailblaze. I'll be your enabler. But I give my kids this advice. Is that laugh at yourself first. You laugh at yourself first. Anytime anybody says anything about any of your flaws, or your drawbacks, or your shortcomings, if you can take the piss out of yourself first, be self-deprecating, but no, you're not perfect, you're only human, they have their flaws as well. No one can hurt you. And one of Finn's mates has it down to a T. Honestly, like genuinely, has already turned out to be one of the funniest people I know. Guy's only like 15. And that's taking something and making it work for you. You're way off point now. Let's get back on point. So, another thing about Tuesdays with Morrie and Memento Mori. He talks about crying and allowing the space to cry in the morning time, and then he gets on with his day. And I absolutely stole that. There's also a great television program on Apple called Shrinks, and they talk about it as well. Harrison Ford gives the advice to one of the characters in it and says, find your most depressing song, or the song that connects you most to the person that you've lost, or what you're going through, and cry while the song is on and let it go. After that, I'm a massive believer in purging all that shit out of you. I have a song from James Blunt, who I don't care what you say. I can go from listening to Metallica to James Blunt in the space of 3 seconds, the gap between 2 songs on my playlist. But Carry You Home destroys me. And I seen him live at the Barracks, and when I say I was a mess, I was a mess, and I didn't care. I did it in public. I do it all the time here. It really gets me going when I can't cry. It gets it out of me. And I wake up most mornings and I've got anxiety and all the bits and pieces, all the worry and the stress and all that sort of stuff. And that's how I deal with it. I say to myself, right, I'll give you a couple of minutes, but by the time I get the coffee into me and then I hop in the shower, wash all my sins away, when I come out, the day starts, and I still do it. And it's a great practice, it's a great model. And then sometimes when I feel the wave come on throughout the day, I say nope, or I can catch it off guard and I say nope, that's not happening, you can wait till tomorrow, because I have a system now that works and I can wait. It's always, you know, just under the surface. But there was a point where I couldn't control it, and then you start feeling like a bleeding whinge bag, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ. But that I learned and was game changer. Now I'm gonna wrap it up now, because I could go on and on and on and on. I'll wrap it up with this. The fear of dying. If you ask me, am I afraid of dying? I tell you no. I'm not afraid of dying. Maybe how I'm going to die, but dying, no. Am I afraid of death? Fucking petrified. Petrified. Of other people. Of my people going. And there is an inevitability for every single one of us that we will go through it. I don't talk about our particular familial situation because it's not my story to tell. But it's pretty fucking serious. And that's why I do this. And I tell people in person. I tell people privately, or I'll tell people through a conversation. But I don't broadcast it here on the line, on Tinternet. But I'm absolutely petrified. Petrified. And what keeps me going? What drives me? As one, as I know, love is a power greater than death. Thanks Bruce Springsteen for that lyric. And I believe that. I had a conversation with somebody on the phone earlier on, well, WhatsApp messages. A new friend, Steve, who I'm going to have on the podcast soon. And there was a lot of great things said. And it gets reinforced every day for me that love is a power greater than death. And that there's more. But having met all the people over the years and seen some harrowing heartbreak, I know that that's going to be me. But I am not willing to take the risk and not say what I need to say right now, and take the moments and breathe it in. And I mean, close my eyes, and this is with everyone that I love, the handful of people in my life that I love. I take all the pain and I use it, and it drives me. And we'll all have regrets, absolutely. But I'm not going to take the risk of having more than I need. It's not worth it. And when Memento Mori is about life ending, I tell you this much. Throughout life, moments in life end. Patches and periods in life end. If you're going through a good period and you're in a flow state, you know those days where you're in the garden and the sun is beating down and you've got friends and family over, you're having a drink and time has stopped. We're all getting a tan, there's music going and there's food going. Or if you're sitting down watching a film with your family, You're on a Netflix buzz and you're wrapped up in a duvet and you've got all the munchies and you don't care about getting fat. They'll end. You breathe those moments in. Breathe them in. Appreciate every single second. Suck it dry. For every moment there's an opposite or equal. When you're going through a bad period or a bad patch or a moment and you can't get up off your bleeding knees, or you don't know what you're going to do or how you're going to deal with it, remember, life goes on. That moment will end too. That period will end too. And you'll be into a good period or a good patch or a good moment. And you can control to a degree how you regulate or behave in those situations. Whether you need to double down, hunker in and get through it, draw on all the shit that you've survived before, or if you need to stop. Don't pay the credit union this week. Pay it on the double next week, or catch up with yourself over 3 weeks and go off for that McDonald's with the kids. Put the diesel in the car and drive off the Bray or down to Tramore. Fuck it. Sometimes I've been that strapped. It'd be a tenner is all I'd need, or a fiver, to buy something and download a film and watch it with them. Do it. Don't risk it. Don't risk not doing it. Don't look back and saying, I woulda, shoulda, coulda. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. So there we are. Thanks for taking the time to listen. And for now, I'll say a big shlán. And I'll see you guys further on up the road. Big love from all of us to all of yous.
This audio was created with async.com.